Well, it's time for perspective, and we will be focusing on the East African community integration. Just on Saturday, we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta and the President for Tanzania, John Magufuli, opening a one-stop border point in Namanga. And those are just some of the steps that the East African region is taking to try and ensure we have a solid economic bloc. But we will be looking at what are some of the aspects, what are the achievements and the challenges that we still have to face. And for more insights on that, I'm now joined by Dr.Abed, Mwanika, who is from Uganda. He is the president of the People's Development Party, which is an opposition political party in Uganda. Thank you very much, Dr. For joining us here this evening.
Thank you, and good evening, Kenya and East Africa.
Kenya and East Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point to start with.
Yeah.
Let's just look at, perhaps the East African community region in terms of the integration process. Where can you say we are as a community?
First of all, the East African integration process is a step in the right direction, because we have been talking about these very small entities in terms of the economies. You look at, for instance, Uganda, where I come from, an economy of $27.2 billion, Kenya around coming to now 80, Tanzania 51, Rwanda 9.2, plus Burundi 3.4, and lately Southern Sudan, which is also a very small economy. So in terms of, for us building the market, it is a step in the right direction. We needed to bring these economies together so that we can build our power, our niche in terms of the international business. They need to look at us. When we're a small economy, it's a little bit a problem in terms of negotiation. But we are moving in the right direction. In terms of the common market,
yes,
it's a big thing. Movement of the goods, the
people,
labor, the services, the capital. Currently, I can say Kenyan coming to Uganda to do business. Those barriers, most of them have been dealt with. There's currently some free movement. There's of course a problem. Tanzania is a little bit slow, but I think they have issues. There are issues we must deal with in the community in terms of land. These are very, very key issues. I believe that's why a nation like Tanzania, they're a little bit slow. I think also we need to harmonize. There have been that level of harmonizing the laws, so that, because if we're going to build one economic bloc,
we must have uniform.
Yes, we must have. We have gone a step very far in terms of the customs union. That's what you are talking about.
Yes,
that,
the one-stop border point that has been opened in Uganda, Tanzania.
Yes. Currently, you can have the goods, for instance, in Uganda. You don't need to be down here at Mombasa port. You can do whatever you want to do in Uganda, and goods will move freely.
One of the issues that perhaps was raised, when we talk about the border points, is the issue about corruption. Do you think that is something that we can be able to deal with as the East African community? Because that remains one of the biggest stumbling blocks in terms of trying to move our goods among us within our borders.
I think we need to modernize customs. We need to do that. That's what will help us to eliminate corruption. Usually corruption is because that the business people, they get face to face with the civil servants, with the people who are working in this customs point. But the modern way of dealing with customs is to modernize, monitor. They have put scanners on these border points. They have come up with the inland ports. There is a lot of things that are coming in, tools that are coming in, that will help us to eliminate the corruption. So I do believe I've seen on the border points, these scanners. I've seen you can now monitor. Someone, I think I saw recently, a private company, launched an app. You can monitor your goods from wherever they are coming from, when they have come to Mombasa. You don't need these forwarding companies to tell you that your goods are not yet arrived.
Not yet here
We
yet.
need money to give to the customs officer, to the bond officers. So with that modernization, I do believe that
we can be able to take care of that
yes,
problem.
we can deal with corruption.
Okay. The other issue is the single monetary, across the board. Where have we reached in terms of trying to deal with one single currency? Is that a vision that we are going to achieve anytime soon?
I do believe that will take a while. That will take a while. There are some few that will come to realization when we deal with the political federation.
Yes.
Because that is a monster in itself.
That is a monster in the, in the integration process.
Yes. I've seen the argument that when we deal with the political federation, then we'll be able to unlock the many other issues in terms of, for instance, we were talking about that single monetary currency.
Yes.
I do believe that will come a little bit quicker if we deal with the political federation, which is a huge, huge thing. Yes, it has a lot in it. We are seeing the summit of the heads of state, the ministers coming. They're doing a good job. They launched that 12 committee member expert to begin to draft the constitution. Their target is 2021. We should
Do you see them achieving that in the next 4 years?
My worry is there is a lot going on at the apex within the the government institutions, but the ordinary people, they don't know too much about the East African integration.
Yes.
We need to bring it down from government, from the heads of state, from Arusha, where the parliament is headquartered, the secretariat is headquartered, to the ordinary people. They need to begin to feel, touch this federation, because it is going to be theirs. The integration, it is basically the ordinary person who is supposed to benefit. The one who is supposed to benefit from these markets is the one, when the investors, they begin to look at us as a block, so that we can attract investment, we can attract FDI, foreign direct investment. They are creating more jobs, but for the ordinary person. When the ordinary person is not involved, the consultations that are going on in terms of the political federation, they stop at government level. Down in my village where I come from, you talk about East African Federation.
Nobody knows what
Yes, they don't understand what you are talking about.
So how do we get that message down to the people?
I do
stop
believe,
thinking of ourselves as Kenyans, Ugandans,
yes,
Tanzanians.
I do believe that the protocol never addressed that, the protocols that they came up with. We need to enrich the protocol so that these consultation, they're now talking about consultation within the individual countries. But they are talking about consultation that stops at government. I want to advise that if the East African Federation is going to work, the ordinary person, they need to be consulted. They need to be involved. The members of parliament for the East Africa, of course, there are few in every country. They need to be facilitated more, so that when these consultations are going on, they don't stop at parliament. I've seen them when they come in Kenya here. It's a parliament in Kenya, it's a parliament in Burundi, in Rwanda, in Uganda.
But the East African Community Parliament itself, is it churning out, legislation that is going to help in the integration process? I
do believe they have made inroads that are very critical. But as I've said, the real users, the real beneficiaries of the East African community must be involved. For instance, we are talking about sovereignty, we are talking about us handing over our sovereignty.
Yes.
But are we consulted? Because it's not only these politicians that own these countries.
Yes.
Yes. We cannot hand over our nations when we are not part. We need, do they want to wait when they are drafting a constitution, we are not involved? It's only politicians. When are the ordinary people going to be brought on board? That is very, very critical.
That is which
whoever is involved in the East African community integration process must address.
Yes.
But
based on, when you look at individual countries and how their governance, structure is and how they're being governed, would you say that we are any closer to getting a federation, particularly a political federation?
That's where the big question is, because we need to harmonize many issues. I give an example of the country where I come from. We are 56 years since independence. Out of the 56 years of independence, 33 years we have been governed by one president. We are a nation that has never seen a peaceful transfer of power. Those are all serious issues. Ever since our independence, power is transferred by a gun. When you want to do a comparative, you look at the nation of Kenya, you have 2 former heads of state. You're about to get a 3rd one. We don't have one in Uganda. You look in Tanzania, yes. They have 3, 4 who have been heads of state. They have retired peacefully. In Rwanda, we are talking about a 7-year term. In Uganda and others in Kenya, you're talking about 5. We need to harmonize these issues. It is very, very important. We need to talk about very important elements of democracy, term limit. We don't have a term limit in Uganda. In Rwanda also they removed the term limit. In Kenya you are talking about a term limit. In Tanzania we are talking about a term limit. We cannot bring together this block in terms of political federation unless we harmonize the most important issues. What are they going to put in this constitution?
So we start with the softer issues like the economic bit of it and forget the political one.
Yes, but remember that you cannot deal with the economy unless you deal with the politics. The issues of governance, they are so critical if you are going to have a viable economic bloc. Because there are these leaders on the top that determine the policies in terms of the direction of this political, of this bloc, the economic bloc. So we need to be bold. The leaders of the federation, the current leaders, the presidents, they need to be very bold. The parliaments of the different nations, we need to be bold and address these outstanding questions in terms of our democracies. We cannot be talking about a federation where maybe we are going to be talking about 1 term, 2 terms. Yet in the nation where I come from, the president is forever.
There is no term limit.
Yes.
Let's talk about, perhaps the politics within Uganda.
Yes.
In terms of your democratic space, what is it that you're doing as an opposition leader to try and, change what you're talking about, the fact that there is no term limit, and this is something that Parliament, approved just last year. It's not too far. Yes.
Uganda's politics, as I've said, is informed by that background, that the last 56 years, we have never had a peaceful transfer of power. That is very, very critical. There is a yearning by all the people of Uganda that this one time, we have been patient. We don't want to go back to wars. So there is no option of war. The only option that we have currently that we are working on is peaceful transfer of power.
Yes.
Our politics also is informed by the fact that we have had a strong man in the presidency for the last 33 years. Therefore, whatever we are talking about, if we are going to get a peaceful transfer of power, he must be involved. He cannot be on the sideline. We need to find a framework which can bring us together. We sit down. That's why it is so critical right now to begin to reach out to the leaders in the East African community. Kenya here, we want to make use of the retired presidents in Kenya, President Arap Moi, President Kibaki, and also President Uhuru. We need people who can facilitate, who have the profile that can facilitate a process that will help us to get a peaceful transfer of power. We are looking also at Tanzania, we are looking at the international community. Our politics also is informed that with the fact that we have the 2nd youngest population on the face of the globe.
Yes.
Yes, with a median age 15.9. 70% of our population is below the age of 25. They want to be involved in the politics, in determining their future. You cannot avoid them. We have 83% of these youth, they don't have formal employment.
Yes.
They have gone to school, they can read and write, 87% of them can read and write, but they don't have jobs. They don't have jobs. They want to be involved. You can no longer, we have 2% of our population above the age of 65. They want to occupy space. That is very, very critical.
So as the political leaders within the country, what is it that you're doing to try and achieve what you're talking about?
We are trying to block, to make inroads in these alternatives. Can we have a peaceful transfer of power? Can we talk with President Museveni that, look here, we don't discount on your achievements, but this country needs to move forward. We must come up with a framework that guarantees his peaceful exit, that there is life after presidency. That's what I'm talking about, talking with the leadership, the international community. And the second alternative is for us, we are trying to come up with a team. This one time, if that alternative does not work, we want to come up with a single candidate. In terms of the opposition.
From the opposition side of it.
Yes. A candidate and a team that can guarantee policies and programs that will move that country forward. But also a team and a candidate that the military can believe in. Uganda's politics also is hinged on the military. We need to, the military must see themselves they must
been part of the process.
Yes, they must be guaranteed.
Are you sort of talking like what we saw in Zimbabwe by any chance?
No, we are not thinking necessarily about a military leader, though we have them already in the opposition. We have them in the opposition. But we are talking about a team which can guarantee that security, that stability post-President Museveni. Because President Museveni is a military man. It has been a plus on him in terms of stabilizing the country. So the international community, the people of Uganda, the military, all of them, they are looking at that as a very important factor post-Museveni. So we are working on that. We are also, Uganda of recent has become so important in terms of the international community. We are in Somalia, stabilizing that country. We are in Southern Sudan. We are in Congo. We are in Burundi. Any new leadership must, stabilize, must be involved. You must give an alternative. So we are working on that.
Okay.
And
I'm informed our time is running out, but being that you are, a leader, a political leader in the opposition party, would you be willing to shelve your ambitions if they decide on another single candidate to be the opposition leader?
There is no doubt that in Uganda, I'm one of the leaders that are on the front line in terms of being a presidential candidate, on filing myself as a presidential candidate. But as I've said, we are coming up with a consortium. Yeah, I will put myself, as a presidential candidate, as a candidate, but it will be upon that team, based on the factors that I've talked about, we will get the best candidate out of that team. I believe I can be that candidate.
But in the event you're not, are you willing to shelve your
In the event that
ambitions?
I'm not that candidate,
yes,
I will shelve my ambitions and we go with the most appropriate candidate as for the season.
Okay.
And
from
the background that I come from,
yes,
I always say leadership comes from God.
It comes from God.
Yes.
All right, I'll just give you 10 seconds to look into that camera and talk to the East African people about our integration process and where really you think we can be able to build on it.
I do believe that we have made wonderful and very powerful inroads, and the East African community is the way to go. There is no option. We must come together, we must build a viable bloc, but we need to involve the ordinary people, the owners of this block. We need to involve them. We need to come up with, modify our protocols and come up with a protocol that can involve consultation. Should not stop at the government level, at the institution, should go down to the ordinary people.
All right. Thank you very much. Our time is up, but I do appreciate you finding time to be with us this evening and to share with us some of the insights of what really we can do as a region. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Fosun.
Well, we've been talking to Dr.Abed Mwanika. He is the president of the People's Development Party, which is an opposition party in Uganda. Just giving us some insights on really what are some of the challenges that we face as the East African community, but of course expressing a lot of hope that indeed it is possible, but we need to involve the players who are actually you and me, the common mwananchi. Where really do they want to fit into this entire process if they're to benefit out of it? We end Perspective on this point. Business News is up next.